3, 2.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the October 2023 Sustainability Commission meeting. We're going to get started today with our roll call. It looks like we're still waiting for some folks to filter in, but we will do the best with what we have. So, Steve Clark.
Here.
Hi, Steve. David Director. David. I see him. Crystal Gold. Cephas Hales Richardson. Carol Martzoff. She's out of town for work and cannot be joining us. Julie Prey. She had messaged that she was going to be a minute or two late. Jacqueline Rhodes also said she would be a minute or two late for work. Sean Stansel also said he would be late today for work. New members, Grace Bennett, not be in attendance today. Joy Washington, also not in attendance today. Gina Burrett.
Here.
Hi, Gina. Francine.
Hello.
Hello. Ed McGargy.
Here.
Hello. Mark Manfrey.
Here.
Howdy. Ed Orner. No, he was still trying to get on. Brooks Stayer.
Here.
Hi, Brooks. And then Laura Goodrich Cairns has her IDA meeting today. So it
Becca,
looks like we, go ahead, David.
I'm here. I didn't know whether you got me because I suddenly realized I had neither video nor audio. So I am here.
Wonderful. We're happy to see you today, David. So as you all know, today is our annual reorganization meeting, and I do see Ed Orner hopped on as well. Welcome, Ed. It looks like we are missing several folks from our member of the public side in order to have quorum. We have recognized that at least 3 folks are going to be hopping on a little bit late, which should be able to push us to quorum. But just as a start, because the front half of our meeting is very heavy in terms of voting items, if everybody is okay with it, we're actually going to skip down and have Francine's presentation regarding the economic sustainability of the department first, and then we'll reevaluate our quorum following her presentation. Does that work for you, Francine?
It does. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Okay, so I just want to say I'm so happy to be back. It's great to see you all. I wish everybody was here so I could see them all, but I'm just very happy to be back. And Becca, thank you so much for holding down the fort while I was away. I really appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen. And so this is actually about the economic sustainability guiding principle, but I'm starting off with something else, not the economic sustainability of our department. But just starting off with, in January, I shared with you the sustainability goals of Delaware County. And I just wanted to show you where we're at, just in a brief checklist. We did publish our plan in August, and we have begun implementation. We did hold our annual sustainability conference. We are almost finished the county-wide zero waste plan. Becca will give an update on that. We have expanded our vehicle electrification program by 2 more EVs. They're actually electric vans. So we're up to 46 EVs, and we have 12 charging stations, and we have about 30 in the workings right now. Some are actually in construction, but we have an issue with product delivery. Electrical components are very difficult right now. There's a supply chain issue for that. We are still in the process of working on our public works design standard. We are continuing to invest in our parks, open space, and trails, as probably was shared with you guys. The Upland Park ribbon cutting, the Rose Tree Park playground. So many different projects are moving forward at the leadership of Mark Manfrey and the support of our planning and public works departments. And we are still working towards renewable energy. And there's going to be a great update provided to you at our next meeting regarding the new name, which is SEPSA. which is the Sustainable Energy Partnership of Southeastern Pennsylvania. So we're going to see this a lot. Now that we have our sustainability plan, we have our 6 focus areas, and we have visuals for all of this now. We're just going to keep reminding everybody what these things look like. So what I talked to Becca about doing was providing an update on how we're moving through the plan through the lens of our guiding principles. So we do have these 4 areas that should be streaming through the entire plan: economic sustainability, governance, education, and equity, inclusion, and justice. So for October, I'm going to share with you thoughts on the economic sustainability guiding principle, and particularly because this is our budget season, we're working intensely on submitting our departmental budgets to the county budget office. And just a reminder that the economic sustainability guiding principle means that we're ensuring that Delaware County is making smart economic decisions without placing undue financial burden or compromising the health of the environment or the community. And this really falls in line with the triple bottom line that the Sustainability Commission created way back when, which is we want to zoom in on how our work is impacting people, the planet, and profit. And they all are very close together and they're combined. So talking about one is not, they're all connected. So when you discuss profit, it's talking about people, planet, and as we move forward, you'll see what I'm saying. So funding our Sustained Delco plan, talking about what does that mean? There's no figure that has been put out there regarding how much is it going to cost to implement Sustained Delco. And that's because, as you see here, Delaware County's Office of Sustainability is administering the plan. But we have many internal and external agencies that are being held accountable because they agreed to these things during the planning process. And these are our partners, external partners, the county's different offices such as planning, public works, parks and rec, through grant funding, through our community, meaning municipalities, state and federal government, and then through fundraising. So here's just a flavor or a snapshot of how we're planning on funding the sustainability plan. And so the partners we have are so extraordinarily important to this plan. We want it to be a sustainable sustainability plan. And doing this means that we're not looking for continuous funding to come from taxpayer dollars. So we're looking at Penn State Extension. We just had a meeting with these really remarkable individuals on Monday. Mark Manfrey was there, Gina Barrett, Becca, Elaine Schaefer was there. And we were talking about the work that they're doing, and all of it feeds into our sustainability plan. They have the Watershed Steward Program, they have Master Gardeners Program, they have a SNAP Food Program where they're getting food education out there to a lot of different folks, particularly underserved communities. So that's one example of a partner that's doing a lot, and that's contributing to the metrics in our sustainability plan, though the county is not responsible for doing those things. Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, SEPTA, here's just a few of them. The Community Action Agency of Delaware County is another really big hitter in terms of the actions that they're taking, providing residents with weatherization support for their homes and also support for residential solar. And so the county is funding a lot of these infrastructure projects that are in the sustainability plan, but these are things that were already planned anyway. For example, we are replacing roofs at several buildings in Delaware County because our facility condition and needs assessment indicated they have reached the end of their service life. For example, the county courthouse has been leaking for some time now and has resulted in poor indoor air quality and mold issues. And so therefore we have had this on the capital improvement program as a project. We're doing this through, and so from a sustainability perspective, we're looking at energy. And so we're going to be installing roofing materials that are considered sustainable so that we have so our buildings are tighter and we can keep the energy inside of our buildings. The same goes for parks and rec repairs. We have to continually upgrade and maintain these facilities, and Director Manfrey has done a fantastic job at communicating these to our public works director and moving forward with getting those completed, such as paving projects. And that includes green stormwater infrastructure too. So we want to incorporate these projects into all of the work we're doing. Electrical upgrades. ADA compliance is an interesting one. At the Courthouse and Government Center, we are embarking on a very extensive ADA compliance project, and we're going to focus on our bathrooms or restrooms to start with. But included in those ADA compliance projects will be water conservation fixture, and also turning off the light, automated switches so that we can turn these things off so that they're not staying on. Operations wise, LED replacements are a project that we have our facilities department working on as they can as side projects. Preventive maintenance is a part of sustainability, and that's included in our plan. Grants, we have really done a good job, I believe, as a county to find the grants that we can apply for and receive them. So as we know, the Pennsylvania DEP Alternative Fuel Incentive Grant, Delaware County received the largest grant in the state's history for a project, which was $600,000. We received over $100,000 the year before that, which has allowed us to be able to purchase our electric vehicles and the infrastructure. Becca worked with the Conservation District to obtain an EPA energy education program for our conference for next year. It's $5,000. Energy efficiencies, the EECBG non-competitive grant, we're making sure that we're utilizing that money for sustainability projects, including relighting in our county buildings. And our Pennsylvania local share account is another example of a grant that is covering a sustainability project, which is our tree canopy assessment and plan. And there are many more. I mean, Gina Britt, who is our planning director, she could spew out probably 5 others, but just wanted to share, this is a snapshot of how we're funding our sustainability plan. And then the community, our municipalities, our EACs, the state and federal government. These are the other partners that we have that are going to be implementing their own funding sources and funding streams for sustainability projects, such as sidewalk and biking. Delaware County doesn't necessarily own all the sidewalks here, so the municipalities are responsible for that. And so creating more walkable and bikeable areas is something important to communities. And then fundraising. So Delaware County's Office of Sustainability is fortunate enough, as we've said before, to have the fund sponsor of the Foundation for Delaware County. So we are going to be focused on generating modules for fundraising for the projects that are in need of this. So I'm going to talk about each of the 6 focus areas as quickly as I can and hopefully not too boring. But I just want to give you a sort of a glimpse as to how we're looking at our sustainability plan through this lens of economic sustainability. And so the energy and efficiencies focus area, our goal is to reduce water and energy consumption in buildings and properties in Delaware County and transition to combustion-free renewable energy. That's our overarching goal. And so we're looking at the economic sustainability for guiding principle. We have a return on investment for spending in this area. Our facilities director, who is here today, he's a member of our commission, Ed Werner. He provided me with an update that we just received $1,275 because our folks in the facilities department took it on to replace about 58 fixtures within the county courthouse. And in general, EPA tells us that LEDs use 90% less energy and last 15 times longer. And just nationally, we can say that by 2027, widespread use of LEDs could lead to a total national savings of more than $30 billion. So we're doing our part in that area to try to reduce our energy consumption through a low-hanging fruit like LEDs. I've also placed into the CIP request, or a capital improvement program budget request, $500,000 for next year to do a relighting project in our government center and courthouse. And we are putting EECBG money, as I mentioned earlier, towards that as well. Here's the check. I just thought you want to see the nice visual. Ed Werner was kind enough to share the check. So we're getting money from PICO for this work. Another one is that return on investment just for operations and maintenance. And so Ed Werner's group, the facilities management department, we've just started activating its building automation system to turn off the lights in our government center. And so this is going to have an immediate savings, and we're going to track those savings as we move forward. And we also are doing building upgrades. Our public works department is responsible for designing and constructing the health department's new flagship building. Well, it's actually a renovation of our building number 7 at the Fair Acres campus. This will be the first LEED certified building in the county's history. And we will see energy and water conservation features there. And as I mentioned earlier, the Public Works Department is also taking on the Americans with Disabilities Compliance Project at the Government Center, and that will include significant water reduction fixtures and energy savings. Natural resources. We want to protect, conserve, and restore our natural resources in Delaware County. And so the return on environment study that was completed by the planning department is our guiding document here. It provides us with all of the backup we need to be able to show what this means. So the economic activity impact of having open space, it is estimated that open space related activities generate an estimated of 52 million in annual economic impact in Delaware County. And so we're supporting this through our Greenways Grant program. And that is something that we're very proud of here, that we are giving the municipalities the tools needed to be able to increase their open space. And just as a note from this study, it shows that there is an accumulated $689 million added countywide to the value of having your house in a half mile from an open space. So that is something that I think all residents should be really interested in hearing. Also from our return on environment report. And Ann Stauffer's actually on the in the meeting as well. She was spearheaded. She spearheaded this report. So excuse me. There are $6.2 million in avoided annual countywide avoided from having stormwater maintenance systems. So when we have stormwater maintenance, when we have stormwater management systems in our communities, we have to maintain them. But when we keep our natural stormwater management infrastructure, such as a large forest or natural stormwater basins, that prevents us from having to pay for the maintenance of these systems. And here it was very clearly illustrated that the county can avoid $6.2 million if we keep our natural stormwater infrastructure in place. And the county has acted on this. And in the purchase of our 200 plus acre park in Marple, which is our county park, just a little piece here. I know Becca's going to mention it later, which is we have our naming contest. So please submit your name. You could win a prize of $250, I think. But it's pretty cool that, Delaware County is acting on this. The fact that there is an economic advantage to having this natural forest in place. And then the direct use benefits, recreation health. So there is $142.6 million in annual recreation benefits to residents and $153.4 million medical costs avoided annually countywide from having recreation and health in our county. And this is specific to Delaware County, mind you. Examples of how we're doing this, and Mark Manfrey can share. The Redwood Community Center is such a great example of a place like this. A little flower park that we are upgrading and improving, the Rose Tree Playground, Upland Park. And so climate resiliency. We want to prepare Delaware County to adapt, withstand, and recover quickly from the effects of climate change. So how does this affect us through our economic sustainability lens? Well, I'm glad you asked. Or should I say I asked? Delaware County is one of only 2 coastal zones in Pennsylvania. I think that's pretty interesting to know. And we are seeing much more flooding. We're seeing sea levels rise. And this is documented scientifically. And so sea level projections for 2050 show approximately $430 million in property value at risk of inundation due to a 1.4 foot increase in flood height in the Delaware River. This is a significant amount of money. And so the average dwelling in Delco is 64 years old. So houses here are average 64 years old. And so increasing flooding could really have a serious concern for the structural integrity of these properties, mold, and occupant safety. And the same goes for extreme heat. When we start to have these extreme heat and humidity situations, it causes stress on our infrastructure and also requires more energy for cooling, and it causes warping and fading of materials. And of course, this is the most heaviest burden on those who are the most vulnerable in our communities. But so climate resiliency, it's about cost avoidance by planning. And so when we have a well-organized and immediate response in the wake of climate hazards, we can see cost savings because we're not seeing that destruction that could have happened. If we're improving our infrastructure to better withstand these projected conditions, and if we're fostering a green economy to bolster financial stability within the community. And Becca really pushed the point of sharing the example that if you participate in the community rating system, it allows for residents to get discounting flood insurance because of flood mitigation practices. And that's just one very granular way of showing that when we plan for climate resiliency, we can save money for our residents. Our key collaborators are on the right here, and they are They have participated in the planning process for Sustained Elko, and they have been great assets to us. Zero waste. We want to achieve zero waste in Delaware County, although it is an aspirational goal. We still would like to be able to try towards it. And the bottom line is if we reduce the amount of waste that's going out, we reduce the costs of disposal for sure. And just a few facts here that the diversion rate is for Delaware County is 37% based on 239,800 tons of diversion. So that's how much we're sending to recycling and compost facilities with 406,000 tons going to disposal, landfill, or incineration. But it should be noted that we are pursuing whatever financial grants are out there. So in 2023, we received a state 901 planning grant, which covers 80% of the costs for Ruth Abbey through the Zero Waste Associates contract that we use to develop our 10-year Act 101 municipal waste management plan. And so annually, we do also receive a 903 grant for 50% of the salary and expenses for a recycling coordinator. And annually, Delco municipalities are receiving 904 grants, which are recycling program performance grants. In 2019, there were 29 municipalities that received a total of over $700,000 for this. And that was about 28,000 per municipality. But it should be noted that there are no material recovery facilities or processors located in the county. And the Solid Waste Authority is aware of that and considering these things when they are improving the transfer stations in Delaware County. And one little note that we've been talking about is that we are starting to compost in the government center and courthouse in our cafeteria behind the counter. We have just awarded a contract to Mother Compost. And so we will be collecting organic food scraps behind the kitchen. We're not starting in the actual cafeteria and the office buildings, but we're starting there. Thank you. Yay. So that's a step forward, and we will be measuring progress as we move forward. So reducing waste pays off, and here's how we do it. This is in our zero waste plan. I'm just putting it out there for a moment for you to absorb one more time. It's basically through policies, banning things like plastic bags, leading by examples such as in our county courthouse and government center, deconstruction, which is about requiring selective dismantling of building components and then reusing them and repurposing them or recycling them. And so these are just some examples. I'm not going to go over them all again because I know you've seen them before, but we love the ideas of these reuse and repair clinics and cafes and edible food donation, which doesn't happen all the time. And we're trying to be able to get the word out on how to do this. And this is also in our zero waste plan. It just shows you how those things I just mentioned can actually change the diversion rate. And we could really see a significant amount of diversion from landfills if we implement these things. Transportation. We want to increase accessibility to safe, active, and multimodal transportation as alternatives to single occupant motor vehicles. And so what does this look like through our guiding principle of economic sustainability? Well, it's important to know that local infrastructure such as sidewalks, bike lanes, and trails serve to connect our communities. However, the availability of these resources really does vary from municipality to municipality in terms of safety, accessibility. And Delaware County government doesn't actually own these roadways. You know, they're municipality or state or federal, but we can influence through planning. And so safe multimodal transit, it does boost the economic development of our county when we think about these things and plan for them, because it makes people feel safe when they're actually using the roads or the walkways to get to community businesses. And so savings and economic development opportunities through transportation. Gina Barrett is on the line here, is on the Zoom call. She's a member of our commission. And these are her departmental projects. But they have a huge impact on economic development opportunities in Delaware County and through the lens of economic sustainability. The Vision Zero Action Plan that the planning department is currently working on will work to eliminate traffic fatalities and severe injuries while people are moving through Delaware County. They're also working on a bike share feasibility study, an active transport study, and a traffic calming study for Route 291. Which runs through several of the boroughs, including Ridley, Chester, I think Eddystone as well. And once again, doing these things can help our residents and even visitors feel safer about walking, biking, and moving, even in vehicles to our businesses. And finally, health and wellness. So what does this mean from an economic sustainability perspective? We want to create a safe and healthy environment to live, work, and play and thrive. And as I mentioned earlier in the return on environment study, We can see that people are healthier and well when they live in areas that are close to open space and recreation. And so it's sort of just makes sense to us. And I'm going to leave this just with this, that the health department was formed in Delaware County in order to be able to move Delaware County in a direction of taking care of the health of its residents through prevention. And so I just want you to take a look at the health department website when you have a chance. I mean, lower healthcare costs are savings for everybody, and prevention is key. And our sustainability plan looks at that through food, water, air, and overall wellness. And so thank you. Next month, I'm hoping to look at our sustainability plan through the lens of education. And that's all. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Francine. It was fascinating to kind of break it down in that different kind of perspective, looking at the plan. Does anybody from the commission have any questions for Fran based on that presentation? And if any members of the public have questions, I apologize, I completely failed to mention how you can get involved today. If members of the public have questions, you are encouraged to utilize our email account at sustaindelco@co. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind today. co.delaware.pa.us. Or you can also leave a comment utilizing the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom menu. I apologize. It looks like we still do not have quorum yet, so I'm going to go ahead and provide the Office of Sustainability update, so more so looking at our projects within the Office of Sustainability this month. So give me 1 moment. Alrighty, can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm happy to share some updates with you just on some of the projects we've been doing in the Office of Sustainability. So first and foremost, I know Francine had mentioned this briefly. However, a county green team has been formed, as you guys have known through our previous meetings, and that's really tasked with internal county employees across multiple departments to really start the conversation and start a more robust recycling program within our government center. So this, I apologize, I can see the image is cutting off my words a little bit. This project started off and is in partnership with Nothing Left to Waste, so Alex Danovich out of Swarthmore. So they started off this project by doing a bin inventory in our buildings to really look at what our existing infrastructure is in terms of recycling, and found that it was very inadequate, but also very variable across the board of where bins are, what the bins looked like. And with that information, our green team was able to provide or complete a survey which really identified kind of what the needs were and what options the employees preferred when moving forward with a more robust recycling program. So we're scheduled to have another meeting very shortly, which will further go over the results of that survey and start looking at costs and actual implementation of a more robust recycling program in the county. We also have a composting pilot, as Francine mentioned, going on in the government center, in which Mother Compost was contracted to do back of house composting for our in-building catering company. So Capizzoli's runs the cafeteria in our building, and they will be beginning with composting. And hopefully that'll serve as a really good pilot so we can expand the program throughout the building. Another thing that we're working on with Public Works taking the lead is an EV charging station program study. And what this is it's really looking at which locations make the most sense on county-owned properties to host our charging stations. So as you know, we have 46 vehicles to date of electric vehicles. However, they're dispersed across the county at different offices to meet different needs. So the largest holder of EVs is our health department. So this study is really looking at where do charging stations make the most sense for our fleet based on the facilities we own and the departments that are using those vehicles. That is with urban engineers. Next, we are also doing a tree canopy study, which was funded through the local share account grant. We're happy to say that the RFP is set to be released any week now. And that will allow us to evaluate the existing tree canopy in Delaware County with updated and modernized mapping, as well as receiving recommendations back from whichever company is awarded our contract to see how we can continue to maintain the tree canopy and really create a more robust tree canopy in Delaware County. I'm also happy to share, after months of talking about it, our Keep Delco Beautiful Advisory Committee is having their first meeting this upcoming Monday. So that group is made up of lots of different folks from our community who have a hand in beautification and litter abatement in Delaware County. So some of those organizations represented include the CRC, Darby Creek Valley Association, Friends of John Hines, PennDOT, as well as many other organizations or just individuals who really have their eyes on litter. Our first meeting will be looking at our community assessment, so existing offerings and need areas within the county in terms of litter abatement and beautification. And from there, we'll be setting 1, 3, and 5-year goals and also identifying events for Delaware County to be hosting each year in accordance with our affiliation agreement. And the last thing on this is we also began our conference planning for the 2024 conference. Woo, very exciting. So that kicked off earlier this week. We're going to be trying to meet more regularly as we're identifying a location and really nailing down a venue. And then we will be sure to get further inclusion of the commission and looking for feedback about potential speakers and content. I also want to share an update on the zero waste plan. So this is something that we chat about each month. So last month I had shared that we received comments from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, but I am happy to share since then we have met with the PADEP looking for additional clarification on some of their comments. I know last month I had mentioned one of their major comments was that the plan may be a substantial revision, which would require us to do additional hearings and a longer circulation period of the circulation draft. However, out of this conversation, we found that it is a non-substantial revision. So what that means is the zero waste plan may continue on the course that it has been on, in which there will be a 30-day circulation to municipalities and an additional public hearing will not be required. So that's kind of the next steps at the bottom. We are awaiting another comment letter as a follow-up to this week's meeting. From there, we will address PAD comments. We'll then begin the 30-day circulation to municipalities. Any comments received during that period will have a formal response of comments. And once those are satisfied, we will then be able to go to County Council for approval of that plan. One thing I also wanted to note is I know I shared last month that during this process, it was found that 9 municipalities were missing their joint cooperative agreements. So those formalized ordinances that say the municipality is going to put their waste into the Delaware County Solid Waste Authority system. Happy to share after doing outreach, we have had 1 municipality turn in the ordinance so far. So now we're down to 8. About 6 of those are reaching out to their solicitors to make sure that they can get that ordinance updated. Other things I want to share, so we are participating in lots of community events this fall. First of which is new from last month, but this Tuesday we will be doing a presentation at the Rose Valley Climate Forum. This is open to the public and you are all encouraged to attend. This will be at 7:00 p.m. at the school in Rose Valley. Particularly, we were asked to speak about climate change in general, as well as our sustainability plan and how it seeks to address climate change. Other upcoming events are the We Conserve PA EAC Network Fall Gathering. There are still openings for this event, so I would highly encourage you all sign up to attend. We will be tabling, and this is a great way to meet other EACs in the area and be able to discuss local issues. We also have Representative O'Mara's weatherization event, which is scheduled for November 2nd. And we also have a presentation scheduled for the Swarthmore Senior Citizens Group on November 8th. Some other things I wanted to just make you guys aware of to mark your calendars for. So Francine had touched on this a little bit, but the planning department is doing a Name Your Park contest along with the Parks Department for the former Donguanilla site park. If your name is selected, you're able to earn $250, so it's pretty enticing. And all submissions are due on Halloween, so it's coming up quick. The Parks Department, as well as the Office of Sustainability and PRC and County Council, are also hosting the last electronics recycling event of the year this upcoming week in Rose Street Park. I had checked yesterday and it looks like there are still a few slots left for registration, but I would advise everybody that those are filling very quickly. I'm also happy to share that we have finally scheduled our campaign sign recycling event for this fall. So we are going to be hosting 2 days of campaign sign collection. That will be on Friday, November 17th and Saturday, November 18th. So that is the week following the election. And this is open to residents, campaigns. It's really open to anybody, all parties, and all members of the public are encouraged to attend. We are also looking for volunteers for this event. So Sustainability Commission members should keep an eye out for my sign up link following today's meeting. On a more regional scale, as you guys know, we work with DVRPC and the collar counties, so those counties in blue quite a bit. And I just wanted to share a couple updates. So these are all our main initiatives, but since last month, we do have a couple projects moving forward. So first and foremost is the Sustainable Energy Partnership of Southeastern Pennsylvania. This is our RPPA, or our Regional Power Purchasing Agreement. We are very excited to share that the formalized MOU formalizing the partnership is going before County Council on October 17th and 18th for the vote. It's our understanding Chester County has already done their presentation, and Montgomery and Bucks are also coming up as well. So once that MOU is adopted, we are formally partnered in purchasing energy through the sub-account model, and we'll begin looking for supplier contracts and forming our first ever energy board amongst the 4 counties. Other things moving forward, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, which is a federal grant, is moving forward. They just started their first kickoff meetings in which we're doing that project with counties from New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, as well as Pennsylvania to form a regionalized climate pollution reduction plan. And the idea is that any actions from that plan will then be utilized to apply for implementation grants in the coming years. We also have the Regional Benchmarking Program, Intercounty Sustainability Group, and the recently funded NREL Clean Energies to Communities grant, but I haven't any updates for y'all in those since our last meeting. The last thing I wanted to put on your radar is in terms of our state and national collaborations. So on a state level, I'm happy to share that we will be participating in the Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful Roundtable on October 25th. So I will have the opportunity to go to Harrisburg and meet with the other Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful affiliates to talk about creative solutions and more localized problems when we are facing litter abatement and beautification across the state. On a national level, as many of you know, we are members of the PJM-CCC, which is the PJM Clean Cities Coalition. And this is really an advocacy group for cities and states that are within the PJM grid. So they are our grid provider, for lack of a better term. And this group is really meant to come together to advocate for more clean energy at a grid level. And we meet monthly, and I really wanted to share with you that we've actually seen some really great progress this past month. So there was an open comment period for PJM in the past few months, and our group issued consolidated comments on behalf of all of the cities within this group. And we are very happy to share that PJM has not only acknowledged these comments, but have chosen to accept them. And what those comments were was a request for them to include local and state electrification objectives for buildings and vehicles into their 2024 load forecast. So previously, they were not considering kind of the electrification goals of local cities or communities when they were doing their planning for load for the next year. But following our comments, they have now agreed to take those into consideration as they're doing their forecasting for 2024. So it's very exciting to see that these comments are not only coming from cities across the country as one kind of unified voice, but they actually are making a difference. So with that, I am also happy to share about our sustainability plan. So this was one of our next agenda items, but we can just keep rolling with it. So as you guys know, we published a little thing called Sustain Delco back in August, which addresses the 6 focus areas on the left side of the screen, in which Francine did a great job doing an overview and through the lens of the economic sustainability a bit earlier in our meeting. So I just wanted to touch base with you on kind of where we are with implementation. So over the past month, I'll say past months, we've very much been considering and really trying to be strategic in identifying a implementation strategy that will allow us to stay organized and have kind of a cohesive, essentially, plan for how we're going to implement the plan. So over the past few months, we've identified that for internal county departments, as well as community groups, we would like to have internal meetings with those groups that were identified as lead agencies to kind of re-go over the actions that were identified for them. And we'll follow up those meetings with a formalized memo outlining the responsibilities that they've agreed to, as well as the reporting structure. We're also going to have an electronic form in which they'll be able to report at any time of the year rather than being solicited at the end of the year and then having to remember everything they did in the 12-month span. So this is something we had mentioned in last month's meeting, and it is something that we're working on, compiling those questions for the forms, as well as just getting organized before we start putting those meetings on the calendar. Another big thing we've been kind of grappling with is how do we get individual residents involved, or as we noticed in last meeting, I know Julie had mentioned what do we do when we have just a really passionate group of residents that are interested in kind of tackling an action or a group of actions? And after a great conversation with Julie, as she was kind of the one that posed the question, we came up with the idea of having action-oriented working groups. So what we were thinking for this was they would be very action-oriented, so specific to topic area, whether it's local food or policies. And from there, they would work independently to complete their actions, but would report back to the Sustainability Commission. In having this structure, we also thought it might be a good idea to provide each group with the same kind of tools to allow for a standardized structure and process for each of the groups. So these kinds of tools might be like a standard form in the very beginning. So they would outline which actions the group is working to accomplish, who the lead organizations were recognized in the plan, who are other voices that should be at the table, who are the participants, as well as their reporting structure back and their timelines moving forward. So with this kind of structure, we were thinking the first two natural groups would be the policy working group, which I know I've mentioned to you all before, as well as the local food working group, just because we have some folks that are very passionate about that and interested in participating. I would love to hear the commission's thoughts on kind of this idea of readopting the idea of working groups to start accommodating kind of some of those larger groups of residents or commission members or things, groups like that, where it's not as formalized, but are really passionate and want to push some of these issues forward. Steve, I see your hand up.
What do you mean by policy working group? What specifically would it address?
Sure. So my idea for the policy working group is that they would be addressing a lot of our actions in our plan, which are looking at like model ordinances or model resolutions. So it would be folks that are interested in more so kind of the legislative part of sustainability. So it might be them doing research on good examples of plastic bag ordinances, pulling those together, doing the research, and working to create what our model is going to be for local communities.
Awesome, thanks.
Sure, absolutely. Does anybody else have questions kind of about this idea of utilizing working groups?
And Beck, is the idea people on the commission would participate in these groups? Is that the idea?
It can, absolutely. Okay. It can be members of the commission. But we also saw this as an opportunity where if we were approached by a group or even just super interested residents that are like, hey, I'm super interested in this one thing or these couple actions that are around this one kind of theme, we would then provide them with the tools to start the working group. And it can be with really whoever is relevant to that topic area, but they would still report back to the commission. But if you guys have other ideas, this is the space to share.
I'm thinking we might, we might at least want to have a liaison from at least a designated liaison from the commission down to each working group. But it becomes demanding if you really expect commission members in general to add a lot of time to those to those activities.
Absolutely. And I will say at this time, so I don't think the idea would be to come up with working groups that cover all of the actions. This was simply kind of the solution we found for And I'm calling Julie out. Julie's question in our last commission meeting, where it's if we do have members of the community that are super motivated, ready to go, what kind of structure or way can we meaningfully engage them? So the idea would still largely be going through the county departments and the community groups that are identified as the leads, but this structure could be used if those community groups or other folks are coming forward and saying they really want to tackle a certain area. Does that make sense?
I do have something to add to that that I was going to bring up under new business, but that perhaps relates to the way we can, solicit and help encourage these working groups. And that is that the Delaware County League of Women Voters environmental team has received a grant from the statewide league to establish a countywide clearinghouse, that is to say a website, for information regarding all the local sustainability initiatives. And what we're envisioning that to be there is very much open at this point, but the idea was it's a place where all the nonprofits get to say who they are, what they're doing. Information resources get posted about, for example, recycling, and community groups and whoever really wants to participate. And so the league has sent out a first round of invitations to a session to be held in a couple of weeks on Monday night, the 23rd, to certain organizations that we are familiar with, to a mailing list that we have. But if anybody knows of groups that have not received an invitation that are interested in being part of the process, certainly they should contact the league's environmental committee, and the person to contact there is Carol Butler, and I will put her email in the chat, and then people can contact her if they're interested. This is, we're just at the beginning stages of putting this project together, but it seems to me that this is something that interlocks very nicely with, with implementation of the plan. And, again, let's not duplicate efforts. So we want to try to do this as much as possible. So.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. David, would you mind sending me Carol's or I guess I have Carol's information, so I can send that in my follow-up email to the commission?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the chat because she's listed as the environmental committee chair. So I'm assuming that this email is being given out. So
thank you.
Okay.
Were there any other thoughts, questions, or comments kind of about this model for using working groups?
I think it's a great idea. I know in Hartford Township, REC spent quite a bit of time on the plastic bag ordinance, and I'm sure other people are working in parallel on other things and probably reinventing the wheel. I guess the idea would be to come in exemplar ordinances and things like that. Yeah, it's a great idea. Do you have focus areas for that, or what it would be addressing?
So these are, again, just kind of large ideas. So it's one where if we want to start a policy committee, first we would figure out who wants to do it. We would then extract which actions in the plan directly speak to ordinances or creating policies. And then this is the piece where it's important to have kind of the working group's independence in completing the actions. I would say they would then get to decide which action they want to tackle first. Alrighty.
I was just going to say that I think that over time, as we provide education in the community about what's in the plan, I think that's where we'll find too that, you know, people who come to those meetings are going to be people who care about the issues at hand. And I really think that we have such our plan is really ambitious and extensive. And I think that there really is a place for just about anybody in the county, every regular citizen in the county to find something that grabs them and you know, some way that they can contribute to moving things forward. So I hope that we can help people feel empowered to take action on the plan that we made.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Well, if there are no other comments, that is everything I had. But I would also like to open this opportunity to look at public comment. So again, if anyone in the public would like to share comments on anything we've talked about or different matters, you are encouraged to put something in the Q&A at this time, and I will also be checking our Sustained Delco email at this time. So I know we have 2 comments in our email, both from, and I apologize, I butcher your name every single month, but we're happy to have you, Owasin of the Fiana. So the first comment says, what is Delco's perspective on the impact of EV battery failure? There was a huge fire in England that destroyed a $20 million garage. This fire was in all probability an EV/hybrid battery failure. Given the number of garages and parking spaces in media and their proximity to structures and the failure seen in England could be catastrophic in media. And then they included a link to the article. And the question posed is, if Delco is still on the path to electrify its fleet and install charging stations, this should be a concern. Of course, the exposure also exists for private vehicles parked in media. Thank you for sharing your comment. I think one thing to share in that is we have a really strong fleet department in that they are on top of preventative maintenance and maintenance schedules for our vehicles, and really on top of recalls as well. So I would like to say that provides some form of security in that hopefully a catastrophe like this would be avoided through that preventative maintenance. But we appreciate your comment. Fran, did you have anything to add?
Yes, I would like to add that I think it's really important for everyone to look at the statistical analysis of EV batteries having that issue compared to a petroleum fueled vehicle having a fire in a garage. I think you would see that the incidence rate is much higher for, or even the prevalence is much higher for, or the probability is higher for a petroleum fueled vehicle. But if there's any literature out there from the standard setting organizations such as the National Safety Council or any organization out there that could tell us otherwise, that would be great. I think it's really important to look at the statistics of this. Yes, that is one case and it is very scary, and we don't want it to happen here. And as Becca said, we're doing everything possible to maintain our vehicles properly. But we do have to look at, you know, what is the probability of something like that happening from an electric vehicle battery.
Thank you. There is a second question. How is bike sharing working out nationwide? Not good. Bikes litter sidewalks. This isn't something that I have looked into personally, but I think Gina out of our planning department, I think their transportation section is working on a project around this. Gina, do you want to touch on that?
Sure, yes, we are just starting the beginnings of our bike share feasibility plan, which is looking at, are there locations in Delaware County where bike share is feasible? One of the issues is looking at where they would be stored. There are several different models out there currently. Some places have been successful, some people haven't been as successful, but that is what we are studying right now, is to look at, will that work in Delaware County, and if so, where? So a lot more to come on that, but we're just kicking that off now.
Thanks, Gina. Steve, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'll just add a comment. As a citizen across from a high school, Harvard High just added a whole section of bike racks. And excuse me, the uptake among students, I mean, it has been amazing over the last probably year or so. I think a lot of it is e-bikes and scooters, especially among young people, is really growing fast. The bike racks are full. They're probably gonna have to add more. It might be something the next generation is taking up, and it might have something to do with popularity of e-bikes coming in. So it's all a work in progress in terms of how this is going to pan out, but it's pretty pleasing, at least from this vantage. That's just a comment.
Thanks, Steve. We also have another public comment in our Q&A box from Raylan Harmon. And it reads, "This is the first time I've attended this meeting. Welcome. The purpose of my attendance is to see how teachers' teammates model of collecting, reusing, and repurposing suitable goods in Delco classrooms might dovetail with the Delaware County's sustainability plan." I'm happy to touch on that. So we have expressed in our plan, as well as just through conversations in the past, that we are very excited and very much looking for opportunities to engage with schools regarding sustainability. So if there are models that you guys are already using, or opportunities to us to connect our work with your local school, we would love to make that contact. Our office started in 2021, so it's not something that we've been able to do yet, but something that we would absolutely love to do. So we would highly encourage you to reach out to us if you have specific opportunities that would make sense for partnership. We would really love that. Alrighty. So that is all the public comment we've received currently. I also see a message recognizing I misspoke on my PJM acronym. The CCC is Cities and Communities Coalition, not Clean Cities. Thank you for updating that. We also have a message in the chat from Ed McGargy sharing that a great model for these working groups would be the Delaware County Environmental Network. This was chaired by a member of the Darby Creek Valley Association and Ackerman. And one project they did was developing a directory of environmental groups. They also held annual conferences that were roundtables of member groups reporting on their activities. We ran this group for several years until some key members developed health issues. That is fantastic information, Ed. If you wouldn't mind sending either contacts or more information about that along in an email, I'd greatly appreciate it to use as a model. Alrighty, so I do see Jacqueline has arrived. Welcome, Jacqueline. With Jacqueline's arrival, it seems that we are still short one member of the public for our quorum. So with that in mind, some of our agenda items for our reorganization, including the review of meeting times and schedule for 2023-2024. I'm happy to do that. However, we'll not be able to make a formalized decision until we have our full quorum, as well as our voting in officers or adopting minutes. But I'm happy to share that now, just to kind of get some thoughts flowing until next time or until we have quorum. So give me one moment. Alrighty, so kind of going backwards in our agenda now, looking at our kind of reorganization things. Again, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to vote on any of these items until we have a full quorum, which would be one additional member of the public on the commission, but something to make you aware of. So we were able to pull dates and times for 2024 meeting schedule. If we continued on the same schedule of having Thursday meetings at 6 to 8, and then Friday from 2 to 4, these would be the dates and times. However, I would be open to hear if these meeting times are still working for folks, or if there's a different schedule that might be more conducive for schedules. The other consideration as well would be if we do continue on the Thursday 6 to 8 and Friday 2 to 4, it would be my recommendation that we reschedule our October 2024 meeting, as it would fall on October 11th, which is the start of Yom Kippur. I understand that that holiday begins at sundown. However, out of respect of our residents, as well as any participants or members that may participate in that holiday, we would recommend just rescheduling to another date so as not to interfere with folks' holiday celebrations. So this is something I would love for you guys to consider for next time, in which case we'll be able to take a formal vote on adopting the schedule for next year. Other things we had on the agenda were just going over the Sustainability Commission charge. So as you all know, through participating in this group, the Sustainability Commission is really charged with providing the reviews and recommendations to council on pertinent county departments regarding the preservation and protection of natural and cultural and environmental resources in the county. Specifically, the charge of this commission is to look at best environmental practices and energy practices across several different areas, which are listed up top. Identifying environmental and energy policies for the county to adopt, and recommending ways to promote and educate the county's environmental initiatives. Identifying and recommending voluntary actions, projects, or programs for municipalities, businesses, nonprofits, and the rest of our community. Creating, reviewing, and providing ongoing input into Delaware County's sustainability, climate, and climate action plan. And finally, recommending triple bottom line related actions. So this is just to kind of refocus folks as we are looking at our reorganization this year, just to remind kind of what the scope of our group is. The only other things that I really had were looking at we were going to need to appoint our chair, vice chair, and secretary. Again, however, we do not have quorum, so that is not an action we can take this evening. But does anybody have questions or comments on those items? Okay. So, we also had one other item on our agenda, which Ed McGargy, you can probably speak to best, is the call for nominations for our conservation district.
Yes, we do have that nomination form was set to Francine. We have 2 openings on our board. We have a farm member and a public member. The farm member is Steve Linville, and the public member is Cheryl Tamola, and both have agreed to seek reappointment, and as long as we get nominations. The nominations have to be in by the 1st of November.
Wonderful. So at this time, I don't know, from your experience, Ed, for your other nominating organizations, is that normally a formalized vote from the group, or is that something where members just kind of offer their recommendations?
It's usually formalized somehow. It doesn't necessarily have to go through a formal vote, because what it is a nomination that the chairman or something could consider based on public conversations with members. And then that's not the final decision. The county council gets all these nominations, and they're the ones that make the final decision.
Wonderful. So I guess at this time then, if it's appropriate, we can put it out there to see if anybody has recommendations for nominations for the Conservation District. And this would be for a general member of the public director position, as well as a farmer director position.
Yes, and we do already have one nomination for the Chester, Delaware Farm Bureau has already nominated Steve Linville. And we have the Federation of Sportsmen Club have nominated the chairman of the Federation of Sportsmen have nominated himself. So that is in here now. The two we have, Cheryl Tamola, just so everyone's aware, she's been our chair for a number of years. She's from Radnor Township.
Are there any other recommendations for nominations?
The other thing I'd just advise the Francine to be aware of is sometimes county council will have people that submit their names to them, so that Elaine or somebody will probably reach out to Francine if they get any nominations that they consider worthy of being considered.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
And I can tell, I have not seen any of those, but they would probably come in through Ann Coogan. So I'll check with her to see if anything's come in.
Very good.
Thank you. Alrighty, then with that, the only other things I guess to bring to your attention is, as this is our annual reorganization, and even though we couldn't vote, I'm happy to share that there were 2 members selected to fill the vacancies from Jenny Sachs and Scott Sidlow. They'll be joining us hopefully at our next meeting. So to fulfill the member of a municipal representative, Joy Washington of Media Borough has been selected. Joy is a council member of Media Borough and really expressed in her application that she was looking to take the successes of the borough and share those with other communities to really see that we can get a clean and green county. So we'll be happy to welcome her next month. And the other was Grace Bennett as our expert or representative with experience in water resources management. So Grace is actually a lawyer, also out of media, and really touched on the water resources piece she had done internships with the US EPA, particularly during the Flint water crisis, in which she was tasked with providing the legislative research and recommendations to the committees that were reevaluating regulatory updates to our water laws in the US. So we're very excited to welcome them both to the committee, and we'll hope to see them next month.
Let me add that I've known Joy for quite some time, and she is a bundle of energy and very enthusiastic, and she will make a great addition to the team. So that I don't know our other new member, but I'm sure she will be of equal quality.
Wonderful. Thank you. So with that, then the last few things we have on our agenda for today are reviewing our action items from last time. And Jacqueline, with you on, I'm not sure if you want to lead this, otherwise I'm happy to continue. Okay, I'll power through the list I have and feel free to hop in wherever relevant. So our action items from last time, let me pull the list. First and foremost was addressing public comment from the same OSIN that I can never pronounce. Last month, you had questioned if there was a chain of custody completed in our recycling program from the Solid Waste Authority, and I'm happy to share that we did get updates from the Solid Waste Authority on that matter, which I'm happy to share with you. So it was recognized that at this time, neither Jim Warner, so the previous member on our board, or Brooks Stayer, the new CEO with the Solid Waste Authority, were familiar with any chain of custody audits completed in Delaware County, and they had actually never heard this term applied to recycling. They also shared that it is typically haulers are contractually bound to providing recycling collection services. However, processing and assurances of the material are typically, material is actually recycled and revenues are shared appropriately. It also requires audits and oversight by the contracting municipality. So based on that comment and based on your question from last time, it seems that the kind of onus of performing recycling audits or oversight is on the contracting municipalities. And to date, the Solid Waste Authority has not performed an audit as they're not a contracting municipality. So I hope that answers your question. Other action items from last time included developing a communications engagement plan for the implementation of the sustainability plan. Happy to share this is again something we're working on. Our hope is to have a roadshow in which we would be going to all 49 municipalities and sharing our findings in the sustainability plan, as well as recommendations for our municipalities to take in support of the plan. So we're still working out the details of this, but I will be sure to share as we move forward. Other items we had from last time included the Meet the Member survey, which I will be sending out to you guys again. So if you haven't completed that, I would kindly request you fill that out. Carol was to send out the resolution from the Council of Mayors regarding plant-based diets. I will be happy to reshare that. We also had accepting our August and September minutes. So as we do not have quorum, we will add that to our list for next time.
Excuse me, Becca, it's Mark Manfred.
Mark.
We have
Sure.
about 1,500 kids out here with the Central League Championship, and we had an electrical issue, but I just want to let everyone on the commission know and my colleagues and Councilwoman Schaefer that we met, as Francine earlier mentioned, about meeting with Penn State and their team about various issues that go on throughout the county and how we work together with the Penn State administration. That our team here met yesterday with Penn State Ed's team from Conservation District to talk about the implementation of the Little Flower Urban Garden program that we're looking to start with the renovations going on at Little Flower. We're diligently looking into raised beds, looking towards Ed's folks for some guidance and the Penn State folks. And I just wanted to let the commission know that we're looking into that, and it's hopefully going to get off the ground in March. Sorry for the interruption, but I just thought it was pertinent information.
Absolutely. That's awesome to hear. And you said that one will be in Little Flower Manor?
Little Flower, yes. In the master plan, it calls for an urban gardening program. And if you haven't gotten a Little Flower and you want to take a ride, look at the changes that are going on there. The changes are wonderful. It's more accessible. There's trails, parking, sidewalks improvement, and there's also in the very near future maybe a new playground, and the garden will be built by hopefully April. We're just we got to work with the various communities that touch Little Flower and get some input from Darby, Clifton, Collingdale, Alden, Upper Darby to see what kind of interest would be garnered through those communities that surround Little Flower. Sorry for the interruption. I just know we just had a little problem out here today.
No, that's okay. I'm happy to hear it's moving forward. And not to put you on the spot, but do you know how many beds they're looking to?
Well,
build?
that's a good question, and you're not putting on a spot. We might start small in terms of marketing it, just to see what kind of interest we get. And that's why we're going to meet with the various government agencies and leadership to see what their feeling is. Danielle Floyd and I, Danielle from Public Works, Director of Public Works, we're going to do this earlier to talk about the potential of a playground and the likes and dislikes of what the community's needs are. But we're going to start small. But we have 108 gardens here at Rose Tree, maybe 40 at Little Flower, with a waiting list of 80 or 70 at Rose Tree. But we're going to start
Okay.
small.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Mark.
You're welcome.
So just getting back to other action items from last time to make sure that we're crossing all those off. And then I apologize, we'll open it up to new business from everybody else as well. So it's not me talking this entire time. So the EAC list we'd mentioned last time, we're looking for local EAC contacts. Ron from the Office of Sustainability made a great template for that. We'll be sending it around. So the intention is if you guys know the contact people and they're willing to share their emails, if you wouldn't mind just kind of populating our spreadsheet so we have kind of that more robust contact list and network to connect with our EACs, our open space committees, our conservation boards, or any other relevant boards and commissions through our municipalities. It was also brought up last time for the request to create a Google Drive folder for the commission to be able to share ideas and examples for sustainability plan implementation. I believe David had raised this. I'm happy to share I did make the Google Drive, and I will also be following up with the link to that folder. So if you guys see really great examples that or have ideas about implementing some of the actions in the plan, I highly encourage you to upload links, articles, or any other relevant documentation to that site. And then the last two things, one for next time, as we're voting for our officers next time, nobody had expressed interest in serving as our secretary. Sean Stansel has done a great job the past 3 years. It can be a thankless job a lot of the time. So we will be looking for a replacement, as he's expressed he does not wish to continue. So kindly request you all consider that for our vote next time. And then the last item, which again, I may divert to Gina, if she's still on the call, is the Army Corps of Engineer public comment for the levy. Gina, if you want to update folks about that, that would be lovely.
Sure. I'm not sure people know about this particular project, but the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers released a draft study on installing a levee in the Eastwick neighborhood of Philadelphia on one side of Cobbs Creek. That the other side is Delaware County, and it ties into the Clearview landfill, which is in Delaware County. We have some concerns about what would happen to the floodwater that is pushed sort of from the Philadelphia side into Delaware County. We acknowledge that there needs to be something done with flooding on the Philadelphia side. So the Army Corps comment period was going to be November 1st, but we got them to at least move it to November 15th. Hoping to push it back a little bit further from that, but we are scheduling in the works to schedule a public meeting in Delaware County. They had one in Philadelphia already, but to have a Delaware County specific meeting with Army Corps, and that is scheduled as of now for November 9th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Academy Park High School. So hoping to get some flyers together for that and start getting that publicized shortly. And we'll also be meeting with some of the municipalities that border that area, so they're up to date as well. We're still working on that exact meeting. So we'll send out the flyer around to everyone once we have that done. But we would like everyone to attend and at least find out what the plan is and how it could impact Delaware County.
Thanks, Gina. And I know that when the planning department was setting that date, it's my understanding that you guys were largely bound to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers schedules, in which case that time is also our November Sustainability Commission meeting. So I would like to pose it to the commission if you would like to either cancel or be willing to move our November meeting date and time of the Sustainability Commission to allow for max participation at that meeting in Eastwick. Just because we don't have the kind of critical mass of folks, it's not something that my understanding requires a formal vote. So I will also follow up, I guess, with a poll to see if people are willing to either move or cancel again, so everybody can go out to that Eastwick meeting and really share their thoughts and hear the presentation on the levy, proposed levy. So with that, that's everything that we had for action items from last time. So I would like to open the floor to folks if anybody has new business for the group.
I just have one for the commission's consideration. If you would be so kind as to consider amending our bylaws to include the Sustainability and Resilience Manager as a member of the commission. I think that, she'd have to be a non-voting member, so I would like to consider her the proxy if you guys would agree. And so just putting that out there for thought.
Thank you, Fran.
Sounds like a great idea.
Thank you. So if this is something that you guys would like to consider, just a reminder, we would draft language, which would require circulation at least, I believe, 14 days in advance of a meeting prior to your vote. So if this is something y'all wish to pursue, that would be the process for this kind of change. Anybody else have new business items? Alrighty, if not, we can go ahead and move to set action items for next time. And I'm going to heavily lean on all of you to make sure we didn't miss anything. So first and foremost, we would be sending information about the League of Women Voters contact information for if folks want to participate in the creation of kind of a clearinghouse, sending along the campaign sign volunteer link, continuing to work on developing a community engagement plan for the sustainability plan, sending along the meet the members. Next month, we would be approving the August, September, and October meeting minutes. Also sending out a link to decide if we want to postpone our meeting or cancel November, so folks can participate in the Eastwick meeting. And then finally sending out the EAC list and Google Drive link. We also have action items to do our formal reorganization in our next meeting, as well as proposed language for the bylaws change to include me or the Sustainability and Resilience Manager as a non-voting member of the commission. Are there any other action items that we forgot, or that I forgot rather? I guess the last would also be if there are any other formal, if anybody would like to send a nomination for the Conservation Board. We'll need to fill that out by November 1st. Alrighty, so with that, if there are no other items for next time, we're going to go back for public comment once more. We have one response from Oisin, who had posed the question about EV fires earlier and just made the comment that petroleum fires are easy to put out, not so much with EV battery fires. Thank you for your comment. Then we have one more from the same regarding the chain of custody. Just thank you for the update, and it's O'Sheen. Thank you for sharing the pronunciation of your name. I apologize for butchering that these past couple of months. So that's all of our public comment. If anybody else would like to say anything, we'll give it one more minute to put in either the chat or our email at sustaindelco@co.delaware.pa.us. With nothing else then, unfortunately, no quorum. I guess this is where our meeting ends. There's no need for a formal vote. Again, because unfortunately we can't vote right now. But I just want to thank everybody for kind of their patience and cooperation today as we really reorganized the schedule, and it was a little bit of a different format than normal. But again, just thank you for your patience and for your participation today. And please keep an eye out for any updates regarding the November meeting to see if that is pushed off or if we'll be meeting at our scheduled time. So thank you again, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and go Phillies whenever we play next. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Becca. Bye.